Christians in Nigeria are one such people group. There was a report that came out today that found that 32 Christians in Nigeria are killed every single day. 7,800 have been abducted since 2009, and 185,000 Nigerians have been killed, 125,000 Christians, and 60,000 liberal Muslims. There are 22 jihadist groups. I didn't realize this. I thought there were Boko Haram. I thought there were a few Islamic extremist groups operating in Nigeria, but 22, and they're systematically going around terrorizing Christians. It's been called a silent genocide because nobody cares, and if there are no Jews, then there's no news, and that's just the reality of how Western media often operates. And so because it's black on black violence, because it's black terrorists killing black Christians, the media is completely silent about this. And it's not just happening in Nigeria, in Mozambique, in the Congo, in Tanzania, lots of countries in Africa, you have radical jihadist groups that are killing and persecuting Christians. So Albanese, if you really cared about innocent human life, you would be taking a strong stance against radical Islamic jihadism, and that is the common thread that links Hamas, that links the groups terrorizing the Christians. People think, oh, well, you know, this is just Hamas, it's only going to affect Israel. No, radical Islam will affect all of us. It already is. So it's time we actually stand up for Christians around the world as well.
Well, the problem with what's happening in Africa, I think, Freya, is that the perpetrators are followers of Islam and the victims are Christians. And that upsets the whole leftist narrative of the oppressed and the oppressor, because according to that narrative, Christians are the oppressors and Muslims typically are the oppressed. But of course, in Africa, those roles are reversed. And so the left don't want to know anything about it because it goes against the narrative. The other thing is that defending Christians for the secular left would risk endorsing views that they believe are antiquated and are oppressive. Sanctity of life, chastity, things like hierarchical social norms. And so they don't want to give moral credibility to ideas that they are repulsed by, and therefore don't want to draw attention to.
But the only hypocrisy in that is that you can't then endorse radical Islam because it is like, you know, if you want to talk about being backwards, that's about as backwards as you can get. But of course the issue...
And yet they do.
Of course, and the issue has always been that they are willing to do that because they think it will help in their ultimate goal, which is the destruction of the West, or to pull apart the cultural touchstones of the West, right?
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Correct. And that's why things like this don't rate as a worldwide media issue, because fundamentally what people are looking for to drive these issues as a global agenda is something that can be linked to the West so that you can then somehow point it back to the West and say, you naughty West. So when you've got black people killing each other in Africa, it doesn't really serve their ends. I mean, you know, they're not actually concerned about the slaughter. And I'm not saying all people who've raised an issue about Palestine are not concerned about slaughter of innocent life, but I'm saying a lot of people who use these conflicts and these issues do so to push an anti-Western barrow. And so they're not interested in what's going on in Africa. I mean, even arguably, you want to talk about wars that we have an interest in, the West has an interest in, Russia and Ukraine. I mean, the resources and money that the Western world has spent on the defence of Ukraine. And does anyone talk anymore about the fact that 1 million odd people have been slaughtered in that war? I mean, you know, it's just certain conflicts and certain issues seem to come to the fore sometimes, and we just forget about the rest of it. People are being killed, genocided every day across the world, and it never rates.